Welcome to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Vivian Nunes. The headlines we're tracking this hour. Encouraging growth, China's Ministry of Commerce and several other departments call on officials to boost consumption in county-level areas. Missed expectations. Japan's second quarter GDP growth comes in at 1.1% on an annualised basis, below market predictions. And oil climbs. Prices rose on Tuesday as prospects receded for a deal to end the Middle East conflict between the US and Iran. Let's take a quick look at the Chinese mainland markets now, where equities closed mixed on Tuesday. The Shanghai Composite edged up 0.2%. The Shenzhen component fell 0.56%. Now let's take a look at how regional markets performed and how Wall Street closed overnight. China's Ministry of Commerce and other authorities on Tuesday unveiled a set of measures to unlock the consumption potential of counties and smaller cities. At a press briefing, the government identified county and rural markets as the most promising areas for China to further boost consumption. Measures include renovating commercial centres and local markets, upgrading logistics networks and providing financial support for retailers to tap China's vast lower-tier markets. The plan also encourages domestic and international brands to open flagship stores at the county level, while making better use of existing land resources to improve consumption services. Elderly care and childcare and AI-powered consumption were also highlighted in the guideline. The lower-tier markets account for about half of China's population and 40% of its GDP. Well, for more on China's county-level consumption growth, we're joined now by Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novem Arcade Technologies. Thanks so much for making time to speak to Global Business this afternoon. What's driving consumption across China at the county level?
Well, thank you for having me. The consumption at China's county level has been growing rapidly in recent years, and this has attracted the investment of many businesses to capture this market. There are multiple reasons behind this rising consumption at the county level. Overall speaking, the rising of China's consumption economy has brought a lot of consumption power all over the country, including the counties. Looking into details, the level of consumption in counties are actually lagging behind the consumption in metropolises, which means they have a larger potential of growing as well as a faster speed, because in economics we know that less developed regions are usually having higher potential for long-term growth. Furthermore, the rising of discretionary consumption in China has brought a lot of energy to the rising of consumption in counties. For example, the rising of tourism has brought a lot of demand to many counties. Many people living in large cities also choose to spend some of their leisure time in nearby counties, especially those with good development of tourism. Furthermore, the rising of salary as well as the pension across China's society has been able to inject a lot of consumption power into the local markets in counties. So with all these reasons, the consumption markets in China's counties are becoming better over time.
How important is increasing county-level consumption then for China's overall economic picture?
Well, the development of consumption in counties is definitely important for the overall development of China's economic growth. First of all, the county economy in China is taking up a very large position of the economy. There are almost 3,000 counties in China, and hundreds of millions of people are living there. And the consumption in counties are less developed compared with large cities, which means the growing of county-level consumption is very critical for the long-term growth potential of China's economy. Meanwhile, the people living in counties are having a larger percentage of children and elders, which means the rising of economy and the consumption markets in counties will bring more benefit to these people, therefore have a very important impact for the rising of social well-being. Furthermore, the rising of consumption economy when compared with the rising of manufacturing productions will bring less burden to the environment, and it will be more green compared with the traditional economy. Therefore, the development of county-level consumption will also bring the quality of overall economic growth to a better extent.
Big global brands like Starbucks and Subway have recently partnered with Chinese owners in joint ventures and plan to rapidly expand into small cities of China over the next few years. What opportunities does China's county-level market represent for overseas companies, and how should they understand Chinese county-level consumers?
Well, with the large scale and the big potential of China's county-level consumption market, it has become a very attractive place to companies, including the global consumption giants. Meanwhile, many Chinese companies, consumption companies, are also rushing into these markets, where the competition is not as severe as in large cities like Beijing and Shanghai. By successfully grabbing this market, it will mean that the companies who win out in this competition will have a rising part of their businesses, and this rising will be lasting for many years, giving the large potential of China's county-level market. In order to successfully win out the competition in China's counties, especially for the global companies, they have to dig into these markets and understand the special local features. These markets will be very different when compared either with large cities in China or cities around the world. The consumption power will be different, the consumption habits will be different, the competition and the supply chain will also be different. So specialized strategies have to be made when entering these markets. The managers of companies will have to go into counties themselves, understand the different features in these counties. Also, they have to remember that counties will be different from one to another. The strategy that works out in the southern counties of China might not work out in the northern counties, given the fact that people have very different living habits. So a lot of researches and detailed adjustments have to be made.
Really good to have your insights on that issue. Thank you very much, Chen Jiahe, joining us there. Well, from county-level consumption to regional cooperation, a loofah plant may not look like much, but processing can transform it into a premium bath or kitchen cleaning product selling for more than $10 a piece. Behind that transformation is a partnership between two Chinese regions, one with land and labour and the other with technology and markets. CGTN's Yu Bo-kun reports from Huangmei.
It's loofah season.
This is also a loofah.
I have one of those at home, but before it becomes a bath sponge, it starts
Right here at Huangmei County, where vast stretches of farmland are dedicated to grow loofahs.
here in the village. Farmers are busy harvesting mature loofahs from the fields, getting them ready for the next stage of processing. I decided to join them and see how it's done.
这个关呢？
这个就正好可以粘，它下面这个，一打下去，
哦，它就掰下来。
这个里面就空掉了，是吧？空掉它就沉着好这进水里面的好泡一下。
I tried picking a few myself.
哎呦，
这个分量要轻一点。
这个轻一点。
He used to grow soybeans. Now, by growing loofahs, he earns around $400 a month.
比那黄豆肯定是要费工是费工一点，这个收入肯定要是效益一点。
These loofahs aren't meant for the dinner table. They're grown for their natural fiber, which is used in making cleaning and bath product. Before becoming finished goods, they're soaked, peeled, and sun-dried.
I'm now putting on my boots to join the farmers to peel the loofahs.
These loofahs have been soaking for about 3 days. Now I'm going to beat them against the ground to get the outer layer off.
使劲发。
好。
This is fun.
放在水里洗一下就可以。
搓 You're gonna wash off the green thing on those loofahs. Okay. My work. This raw loofahs crop can sell about 20 yuan per kilo, or about $3 per kilo. But after they made it into kitchen and bath product, the prices can jump 5 times.
In other words, it's no longer just an agricultural product. It's becoming a consumer good.
So how does a simple loofah become a much more valuable product? It takes more than a farm. It takes technology, processing, and also access to global market. And that's where Ningbo comes in.
While Huangmei has the land and labor, Ningbo on China's eastern coast has the know-how and the market. The two regions have been working together for 3 years.
我们就是希望呢，什么样模式呢？研发、设计、市场、渠道放在我们宁波，这边生产、加工、制造呢放到这样一个前店后厂分工协作的模式，来最大限度的发挥各自彼此的长板。
The project is led by Sheng, a Huangmei native who has been working in Ningbo for years.
我们这产品呢，主要出口到这个欧洲，到日韩。我们现在在黄梅这边，我们的基地总共有1300亩，在未来我们规划大概预计要做到4、5000亩。
From a loofah in Huangmei fields to a product sold worldwide, it's more than a crop. It's a supply chain linking land, technology, and global market. Yu Bokun, CGTN, Huangmei, Hubei Province.
Sichuan bonsai in Chongzhou has become a major summer tourist attraction, drawing visitors from across the country. The boom owes much to a Canadian bonsai artist whose local studio has not only drawn crowds but also revitalised the region's bonsai industry. Wei Wei has the story.
Canadian bonsai artist Chad Sinclair rented a small courtyard and launched a bonsai studio in Chongzhou, one of the birthplaces of traditional Sichuan bonsai, in 2019. He developed his own style, integrating the simplicity of the West with the artistic essence of China. Small in size and lightweight, his bonsai works enjoy great popularity, driving more than 300 local residents to shift to miniature bonsai cultivation, bringing each of them an annual income increase of 50,000 yuan.
It's great. It makes me feel like I'm helping the village out. Since they've helped me out in a lot of ways, I'm somehow giving back to them. They're able to make a better living for themselves and a better life.
Relying on Sichuan bonsai, Chongzhou has developed industries including bonsai cultivation and art study tours, extending the village's industrial chain from bonsai sales to rural tourism.
We run multiple services such as catering, study tours, bonsai sales, and bonsai DIY experiences, which have boosted our annual income to 180,000 to 200,000 yuan.
In 2025, Chad Sinclair was honored as an outstanding talent for rural revitalization by local authorities, making him the first foreigner to receive this title.
We will provide special subsidies for these selected rural talents, alongside policy support covering production, daily life, entrepreneurship, and employment. Chongzhou has certified more than 200 rural revitalization talents.
By focusing on the bonsai industry, Chongzhou has attracted domestic and international talent to develop an integrated agriculture-culture tourism model, raising local incomes and fueling rural revitalization. Wei Wei, CGTN, Chengdu.
You're watching Global Business. Coming up, missed expectations. Japan's second quarter GDP growth comes in at 1.1% on an annualised basis, below market predictions. We'll have the details when we return.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global Business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
Japan's economy grew at an annualised 1.1% in April to June, missing forecasts of 2% and slowing from 1.9% in the previous quarter. Meanwhile, corporate bankruptcies in Japan in July have exceeded 1,000 for the second straight month as labour shortages and rising prices continue to squeeze smaller businesses. Tokyo Shoko Research reports that the number is up nearly 7% from last year, with total liabilities surging more than 41% to about $1.5 billion US. Small companies accounted for nearly 80% of the total number. Bankruptcies attributed to labour shortages hit a record 63 cases, including 36 caused by rising personnel costs, while those tied to rising prices totalled 93 cases. It was the most since 2022. Well, for more insights on Japan's economy now, I'd like to bring in Chu Chiang, a fellow at the Belt and Road Research Centre of Minzu University of China. Thanks for joining Global Business this afternoon. Japan's Q2 GDP came in far below market expectations. What was behind that miss?
Well, actually, it's out of my expectations as well. We're looking at the actual GDP growth is about 1%. So it's like 0.3%, month on month. So that is far lower than our expectation, about 2% or at least 1.8%. So I think the reason why the domestic demand actually has been collapsing is because there are several reasons. I think the inflation is absolutely the point. If I take a look at everything on the shelf of the supermarket in Japan, everything is getting, super expensive in the past 1 year. And I think it's going beyond the patience and, the income growth of the ordinary Japanese family. So what we're looking at is there is a negative 0.2% of the reduce in the demand, domestically in Japan. And also, I think the consumptions of the family and also the investment of the enterprises are all been dragging down. And we're anticipating there's probably going to be an even larger slowdown in the housing market in Japan, which is going to come very, very fast. You're going to read the numbers. And I think secondly is about the energy shock. We all know the Strait of Hormuz is pushing upward the global, gas and oil prices. We used to relax a little bit in June and July, but also if I take a look at the number in the August and maybe in September to come, the oil prices probably is going to be over 90 US dollar per barrel again. So I think this shock is killing the Japanese economy as well, because Japan actually relying on 80% of the oil and gas import through the Strait of Hormuz. And also there's some other, inconvenient, excuses. For example, like the extreme weathers are killing the tourism. We've been looking at there are 10%, shortage of the tourists coming into Japan because of the bad weather and also very expensive airliner ticket. So I think all this reason overlapping together is making Japanese economy are facing a cold time.
And as we heard, Japan has seen over 1,000 corporate bankruptcies in the past 2 months. You mentioned inflation. How has the prolonged depreciation of the yen contributed to this?
Well, I think there are 3 reasons behind that. It's a really bad day for the Japanese enterprises. We're looking at more than 1,000 enterprises that are going on bankruptcy. I think this is for the first time in about 14 years. And only, in the first half of this year, we're looking at they're probably going to be, more than 5,000 enterprises on the verge of a bankruptcy. So this is really dangerous. I give you just one thing. That Japanese people love ramen, right? But right now you're going to see lots of the Papa and Mama shop, ramen shop are going bankruptcy. They're like the cornerstone, like the ordinary family's daily consumption. Everybody eat ramen at least one time a day. But when the ramen shop actually go bankruptcy, you can feel by yourself how bad economy is going to be. So I think number one is about its, inflation. We just mentioned about it. And secondly, is about the Strait of Hormuz and the raw material import, everything has been soaring up. And also, secondly, certainly is about the, currency. I think Japanese yen is getting worse and worse. Japanese yen is very important importing, currency, because Japan, actually, they don't have so much of the luxury of the natural endowment. They don't have raw materials. They have to buy everything and get, processed in Japan. But when Japanese yen goes weaker and weaker, I think it's about 163, yen against $1 US. I think it's the worst in, probably the past 10 years. So everything is getting more and more expensive. And plus, there's a shortage and human resources. So everything overlapping together makes a lot of things cannot be affordable by Japanese ordinary families. And also, we're looking at more than 90% of these companies actually are small and medium-sized and mini-sized enterprises, which is less than 10 people per company. So this kind of, personal and family debt are going skyrocketing. So this is going to continue, I think, at least for 1 or 2 years.
Given that continuation into the future then, will this continued weakness in Japan's domestic demand and pressure on small and medium-sized enterprises spill over into the regional economy, do you think? Are there wider consequences for Asia?
Well, I think absolutely. I think this kind of the shockwave is going to last for quite a while. Like I just mentioned, we're looking at least 1 year or even 2 years, because Japanese central bank are caught in the middle. They cannot actually to boldly raise up the interest rate. Otherwise, they're going to kill the domestic economy. or they cannot let it go, to lower the interest rate to, risk everything. For example, if you let the interest rate go too low as before, like 0%, your currency is going to collapse, and also inflation is going to go berserk, and that's going to kill Japanese economy as well. So to the left or to the right, there's no way to go. You have a very thin line in between. You have to walk through very cautiously. And talking about Asia economy, well, Japanese economy actually has been shrinking. Japan is a very large and important exporter to the whole ASEAN and also Eastern Asia region. And also, they've been very important investors like in heavy industry and automobile industries in ASEAN nations. So if this kind of situation continues, I think the shockwave is going to influence ASEAN nations like Thailand, which is the largest outsourcer of the Japanese automobile companies. And also talking about semiconductors. Semiconductors are booming while China, mainland China, Chinese Taiwan, and also South Korea are very prospering on the semiconductor. But considering Japan is also a very important part on the semiconductor production, supply chain. So when Japan is down, and I think this will also, spill over to South Korea and China. So we're going to be very cautiously looking into that kind of situation.
Yep, lots to watch out for there. Thank you very much, Chu Chiang, for those insights. A sharp increase in Japan's tourist visa fees has sparked unease among foreign residents and travellers, particularly nationals from lower income countries who must secure visas for entry. This development comes as the nation's once thriving inbound tourism sector shows signs of weakening, pressured by escalating accommodation and consumer costs. Najib El-Kash has the story.
This summer, Japan witnessed the first decrease in the number of incoming foreign tourists in 5 years. Japanese authorities raised the fees for single-entry tourist visas to 15,000 Japanese yen from 3,000, a 400% increase at the beginning of July. The price hike, the first in nearly 50 years, left many wondering about the timing of the drastic step at a time when the inbound tourism boom is facing serious challenges.
Hotel costs keep going up as we check, and the closer it gets to the date, the more the hotel prices increase.
People other than the French and other rich countries, they don't need to pay a visa. It's okay for them, they're rich. But for the poor country, developed country, and you need to pay about $100 and $200. They think this will be an obstacle for them to come in Japan.
Japan received more than 42 million foreign visitors in 2025, an increase of more than 50% year on year. However, figures from this year cast shadows on the sustainability of growth in the sector. In June, the number of tourists decreased by 6.8% compared to the same month of last year.
Actually, my family planned to visit to Japan, but I heard the visa for tourism is rising up 5 times more expensive. It's because of the government is not cited for foreigners, not very friendly for foreigners.
Here in Japan, some are surprised at the government's decision to increase visa prices. They say statistics show the numbers of foreign tourists are down for the first time since the start of the current tourism boom, likely due to rising inflation and a considerable hike in accommodation prices. Tokyo's consumer price index rose by 1.9% in July compared to July of last year, which was mainly caused by higher energy and food costs. But the rise is much steeper in accommodation costs for foreign visitors, which in 2024 rose more than 50% year on year, according to recent surveys. Meanwhile, the government is proposing further increases in the costs of other types of residency permits, which would affect the lives of more than 4 million foreign residents in Japan. Najib El-Kash, CGTN, Tokyo.
Still to come on Global Business. Oil climbs, prices rose on Tuesday as prospects receded for a deal to end the Middle East conflict between the US and Iran.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present a China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
Global oil prices advanced for a third consecutive day on Tuesday, driven by the expiration of the 60-day US-Iran Memorandum of Understanding earlier this week. Brent and WTI crude futures both reached two-week highs and are currently trading about 30% above pre-war levels recorded in February. The price surge follows dwindling prospects for an immediate ceasefire as both sides have recently threatened to adopt a more aggressive stance. The escalating uncertainties across the Middle East have revived deep concerns about future energy supply stability. A senior Iranian official says the country will shift to a fully offensive military posture in the conflict with the US. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has dismissed Trump's claim of a back channel for talks between Washington and the IRGC. IRGC spokesperson Hossein Mohebi called Trump's claim a delusion, denying any dialogue is underway. Trump has downplayed the prospects of reaching a deal with Iran. He says Washington is not seeking an extension of the Memorandum of Understanding, which expired on Monday. Both sides refused to back down on central issues including the Strait of Hormuz and Iran's nuclear program. Trump has also threatened to bomb Oman, a traditional ally of Washington, if it gets in the way of US policy on the Strait of Hormuz. Nick Harper has more from Washington.
The Memorandum of Understanding has now expired. It was that 60-day period where really both sides were meant to deal with the much thornier issues, to try and work out a long-term peace plan and work out what happened to Iran's nuclear stockpiles. That simply hasn't happened, and there's no plan at this stage to extend that Memorandum of Understanding, and those negotiations appear to be deadlocked. What has happened during that 60-day period is the Strait of Hormuz has become not just more central to the whole conflict, but really a stumbling block to achieve peace. What we do know is that Iran and Oman, they are still talking. They're looking at a very narrow, limited agreement on the Strait of Hormuz that essentially would decide which ships can pass through. Iran also saying it will not wait indefinitely for the US to lift that naval blockade on Iranian ports, something that's angered Iran, but which the US says it will keep in place, and it says it plans to do that indefinitely.
To Canada now, where Prime Minister Mark Carney said Monday that trade talks with the US were continuing before 50% tariffs take effect on Wednesday. He said negotiations were very intense and delicate, but declined to reveal any progress. Asked if he plans to hit back, Carney said he has plans for any situation that may arise. But how are businesses reacting to the looming tariffs? Well, our Nina DeVries has more from Toronto.
This is a collection of Canadian products.
Martin Richards is concerned about looming deadline when new 50% tariffs are set to take effect. 70% of his customers are in the US, he says.
I'm sort of sitting on a perch ready to fall off.
He's the president of Imperial Productions and Distribution, Inc., which designs and sells about 10,000 architectural building products such as domes, fireplace mantles, and medallions. He says the wood the company uses would be hit by the latest proposed tariffs, and it's confusing not knowing how he should adjust his financial planning.
Confusion being, how do I adjust 10,000 products, alter all the calculations, alter all the Excel files, do all of those things which are normally automated.
His clients can order months in advance for a product, and now he has to explain to them about the possible tariffs they may have to pay.
Any quotes that I've done in the last year now are all null and void because the tax would be the 50%.
He says he has clients who have already canceled orders over concern about the proposed tariffs. He's certainly not alone, Businesses across Canada are bracing for these new tariffs that could go into effect August 19th. One strategy to limit the impact is to increase business ties with countries beyond the U.S.
What we've seen is a lot of businesses pivot to Europe, pivot to Asia, and quite frankly, a lot of them pivot to try to find new markets within Canada as the U.S. has become, in their view, a less and less reliable trading partner.
There is also hope in Canada that current trade talks with Washington might lead to a renewal of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement, also known as CUSMA in Canada. In July, the Trump administration said it did not want to extend the deal beyond 2036.
According to a report for the Canadian American Business Council, if CUSMA completely breaks down, there could be over 100,000 job losses in Canada and over 200,000 job losses in the United States.
Meanwhile, local media outlets have reported that Canada is considering some concessions to the U.S. in exchange for tariff relief, such as lifting bans on U.S. alcohol sales. But the Canadian Prime Minister would have to convince individual provinces and territories to act, as the bans are under their jurisdiction.
I think, if he comes to the provinces on Monday or Tuesday and has something really concrete, some major agreement, then it's possible that he would be able to persuade Ontario and BC and Quebec to relax this boycott. But if he comes with nothing, there's no way that it's going to happen.
As for Martin Richards, for now, he's just trying to manage as best he can in the uncertainty of it all.
So I don't know what is going to occur. I wish I did. And then, you could plan accordingly.
A feeling likely shared among many across Canada. Nina DeVries, CGTN, Toronto.
Despite US tariffs and restrictions, American business leaders continue to express confidence in China's economy, its innovation and manufacturing strength. The US-China Business Council also denied what it called was a myth that US firms are leaving China. Our correspondent Regina Ham has the story.
At China's recent International Supply Exposition, it was though the recent surge in U.S. tariffs didn't exist. U.S. and Western businesses seem wowed by the continuing revolution in Chinese technology and the ability of Chinese companies to manufacture and export in spite of the increasing uncertain global trading environment. And at a Chicago event to build on the Beijing Expo in June, U.S. businesses echoed that sentiment.
There's this myth out there that American companies don't want to do business with China. Or there's another myth that says American companies are leaving China. Or the third one, there's a myth that American companies aren't investing in China. Or that American companies don't welcome Chinese companies in the United States. All of those are myths. All of those are false. In recent conversations with American CEOs, what they're talking about now is not necessarily about even tariffs or trade friction. What they're talking about is they recognize some of the strengths of the Chinese economy and the Chinese innovation system. And so what they're looking at is what can they learn from the Chinese system and how can they partner with Chinese companies and others to not just be more competitive in China, but to be more competitive in other countries and other regions around the globe.
Recent expert analysis bears these sentiments out. While U.S. tariffs on China are higher than on its Asian neighbors, they are not high enough to deter U.S. and other foreign investment. Take, for example, international design and manufacturing company Agilion, based in Dongguan, China. They have moved some facilities out of the country, but are still basing most of their production in China. However, China's increasing technology might and capacity is key for this company to stay based and grow in the country.
We are changing the world from a free trade system somehow to a multi-tariff situation where having tariff is not only about 5%, 7% something, but more like 10, 50, 100 as it fits their business. So this is a trend we are going there. However, on our side, we see China as the trend that built China for electronic products is just incredible. For a typical example is a capability to develop electronic components, which was very weak before, but now they start to have very strong electronic industries, microelectronics, so to developing chips, which is a very, very future-proof.
But more tariffs are coming from the U.S. Import restrictions range from those on Chinese-made robots to agricultural products from Xinjiang. But Despite that, China has not only managed to survive, but thrive. The country continues to be a go-to destination for the U.S. and other foreign companies for their global operations and the fast-growing consumer market in China and the rest of the region. Regina Ham, CGTN, Washington.
To Europe now, and the grape harvest in France's Champagne region has officially begun, marking its earliest start on record. This year's earlier than usual picking comes after a summer of record-breaking heat. Our correspondent Siobhan McCall has this report.
An exceptionally early harvest. Around 100,000 grape pickers are expected in Champagne over the next few weeks. All fruit is picked by hand as per centuries-old tradition for the famous drink named after its home region.
When I was a child, the harvest was after the start of the school year, so it was during the last week of September or even more towards October, a rather cool period.
The harvest is on average 20 days earlier than it was 30 years ago, and the average temperature in the Champagne region rose by 1.8 degrees between 1961 and 2020.
It's not surprising, yet it's very surprising at the same time, because it's happening at an incredible speed and with incredible intensity. Not so long ago, we never would have imagined starting the harvest in the first weeks of August.
This all provides a dilemma for winemakers. If they harvest early, it helps reduce the amount of sugar in the fruit, but it risks upsetting the balance of acidity, something that gives champagne its famous fresh and crisp flavour. Water shortages are also contributing to a lower yield this year. And there are economic challenges too. Threats of 100% tariffs in Champagne's biggest export market, the United States, and cost-conscious buyers looking for cheaper alternatives.
Since the vineyard is here and will outlive us, it's up to us to adapt. And then, little by little, perhaps we need to make our consumers accept that there will be a transition towards champagne profiles that will change a little bit as well.
For some places, climate change is providing an opportunity. Rising temperatures in southern England are allowing winemakers there to successfully grow grapes traditionally associated with the premier wine-producing regions. But Champagne, a region and industry steeped in tradition, is now having to think about transition as scorching summers become the norm. Siobhan McCall, CGTN.
A youth delegation from Neustadt in southern Germany spent 10 days this summer exploring Quanzhou, a UNESCO World Heritage City in China's Fujian province, which was once considered the East's greatest port. Their itinerary wove together ancient maritime heritage sites, traditional craft workshops and specialty industry exhibitions offering hands-on encounters with the port city's storied past.
In the past few days, the German teenagers have visited sites including Luoyang Bridge, Kaiyuan Temple and Quanzhou Shaolin Temple, experiencing the charm of the World Heritage City of Quanzhou through tours and hands-on activities.
I'm always interested in adventures like this, I think, yeah. And I think China is a very exciting place.
The people are very, very kind, so really nice.
And the buildings are really amazing.
Yeah, very old buildings.
The delegation got to watch a string puppet show up close, seeing how performers control the puppets with wires.
Easy to control?
Yeah. And they also attended a Shaolin Kung Fu demonstration. The monks' moves drew applause, and some students tried them with a bit of help. The visit gave them a first-hand look at traditional local arts.
So it was really, really cool. We've never seen this before.
It's not easy, but it's really cool to experience this. And yes, I always wanted to do something like this, to try it.
I've maybe watched Kung Fu Panda, but I think that's it. So I don't really know what's coming.
I just want to see like another country, like another buildings, to meet new people because I love to talk to new people and to maybe we have like new friendships. This is my exchange partner. She's like really friendly.
Everywhere you can find places with tradition, with culture. the people, when you observe and when you look at the people, they respect it. And the German students see it. They see that the Chinese respect their culture and their traditions. And yes, that's something, it's real. It's real, it's serious. And when it's serious, yes, you can estimate it and you can understand it.
Since Guangzhou and Neustadt established sister city ties in 1995, the two sides have carried out fruitful cooperation across multiple fields, setting a fine example for China-Germany sister city exchanges.
And that wraps up this edition of Global Business. I'm Vivian Nunes in Beijing. Thanks for watching.